Good morning, welcome back. This is Brighter Morning with Bo, and I am Bo Tiwari. We have Kevin Ramnarine on the line, former energy minister and an energy consultant now, and we will talk with him about the NGC issue. But Kevin, before we go, I can't help but avoiding, I don't know if you looked at the papers this morning, I mean, this thing with the Commissioner of Police and the Police Service Commission, I mean, this is a scandal of huge proportions. I mean, I don't know how the country could live with this scandal. You know?
Well, and when you reflect upon it, right, their remit is not that wide. It's for a narrow bandwidth of police officers. The police commissioner has responsibility for the lower ranks and so on. So, I mean, that is all they are there to do, to oversee that aspect of the police service, and in that regard, they fail.
It's two people, the commissioner and the deputy commissioner.
So I think I agree with you, and I agree with the Express. The entire commission should resign, and in fact, the fact that they have not.
No, they should not give any more pain to the population.
And the fact that they have not, is really an insult, I think, to the country.
I think you have to go. I don't see how you can stay there. It is a distress to the population. Anyway, look, we're here to discuss NGC, which is another problem. Kevin, I know you a long time. I know your disposition. I know you were Minister of Energy. I was there in the cabinet with you. I know you understand the energy sector well. You came up with the Southern Chamber at that time, which became the Energy Chamber. And the work that you've done in university and so on prepared you well for all of this. And I really want to have a serious, honorable, objective discussion about this NGC matter with you, because I think I can trust you to do that. I am not going into any politics. I'm not interested in the politics of this situation, because just like the Police Service Commission issue, this is a matter of national significance. At a time when the gas market has transformed considerably and where the conditions for energy in Trinidad and Tobago have changed dramatically. So I want to start by giving you a free hand to give your position on what you think are the facts about NGC and the Atlantic Train 1 situation.
Yeah, I think it's a discussion like all things in Trinidad and Tobago, it ran off into a very steep political direction. And I think that the facts were laid out by the chairman of the NGC in various statements that he made. He was very much available to the media when this thing broke. And I think if you read into what the chairman of the NGC was saying, he laid out the facts. The issue really is that we have a deeper problem in this country, and it's probably the most significant economic problem we have, which is that we are not producing enough gas to meet the demands of the existing plants in Trinidad and Tobago. And as a result, you're having casualties from that. And we saw some of those casualties in Point Lisas, and now we're seeing it manifesting itself in Atlantic LNG.
Okay, let's just stop there for a minute, Kevin. What is the shortfall? What we need to carry the country is about 4.3, and we are now at 3 point what?
So if every plant in Trinidad and Tobago, Dr. Tiwari, gets all the gas that it needs to operate at its maximum level, we would need about 4.4 to 4.5 billion cubic feet of gas per day. So that is an ideal world.
This includes Atlantic 1?
And that includes Train 1. Right? Okay. And that includes, I even throw into there, that even includes metal. Right? So that is, we have not been at that level since 2010. If every plant in the country right now got its contracted amount of gas, which is what it's legally entitled to, we would need 3.3 billion cubic feet of gas per day. And that excludes Atlantic Train 1 because there is no supply contract there.
Yes.
Because BP has said that it cannot supply Train 1 with gas, so therefore there's no contract that has been entered into. So that's 3.3. And the difference between that 3.3 and the 4.4 that we spoke about is a lot of plants that have shut down. Train 1, about 4 plants in Point Lisas, the refinery used to use gas too. But currently, we are not even producing enough gas to meet contracted demand. So that right now we are producing somewhere in the region of 2.8 billion cubic feet of gas per day. That was up to May of this year. Those are the figures that we have available from the ministry. It probably has gone up a bit more because of Matapal. But I don't think we are back to the 3.3, which is what is needed to meet contracted demand. So what is the deeper issue? The deeper issue really is that although we've had 2 gas projects come on in the last 2 months, the Barracuda project at Shell and the Matapal project at BP, which came on this week, we are struggling with gas production, particularly in the Columbus Basin of the East Coast. And it's because the decline of existing reservoirs is happening a lot faster than expected. I'll give you one. I am told that the Juniper field, which came into production in a much celebrated manner 4 years ago, is in decline. It started to produce at a high rate of 550, 570 around their million cubic feet of gas per day, and it may now be down by, a factor of about 20 to 30%. So there's that decline taking place in existing reservoirs that is rapid, and that is a challenge. To keep catching up with that is going to be difficult. So we are in a situation where our gas sector is in a sort of long-term decline. We are going to get some improvement next year with production and possibly in 2023, but after that there is decline setting in again. So that really is a challenge, and I think what happened at the NGC is that they were faced with a decision that had to be made in December 2020, and they opted to support the turnaround activity at Train 1. So these trains at Atlantic go through scheduled maintenance every year, and those scheduled maintenance they're called turnarounds. They are very expensive. They could run into the hundreds of millions, and the suppliers of gas to Train 1, BP, and the other shareholders opted out of that turnaround because, of course, they said it makes, in their view, it did not make business sense to plow money into Train 1 when there was no gas available to support the operations of Train 1. It's now public knowledge that the NGC thought differently, and with their 10% in Train 1, they decided to foot the bill for that turnaround by themselves, and for that they have been heavily criticized. The decision, I don't know what supported the decision. The chairman of the NGC has said that they had done their homework, they had received analyses and so on. But clearly we are now in September 2021. Train 1 has been down for 10 months, and clearly the supplier, BP, does not have the gas to support Train 1. And we hear again, the point you made this morning about people making statements that really can't stand the light of scrutiny. We hear statements that BP and Shell have gas for Trains 2, 3, and 4, but they don't have gas for Train 1. How come they don't? And it's an attempt to cast some sort of suspicion on these two multinationals. What people saying that do not say is that BP and Shell are the suppliers of Trains 2, 3, and 4, yes, but Trains 2, 3, and 4 are not operating at their contracted levels. Both trains 2, 3, and 4 are running short of natural gas right now. So clearly, if it is I cannot supply, again, it comes down to business decisions. If I cannot meet my contractual obligations to trains 2, 3, and 4, then it would be reckless of me to enter into a new
New
contract with train 1.
yes. Okay.
So I remember these people operate with, fiduciary responsibilities and so on. So it is my view that train 1 is going to be down for a while and possibly may not restart.
All right, let's examine this thing. All right, so the heart of the problem is the inability of the country through its various options, mostly private sector multinationals, to produce enough gas to supply both Atlantic in all its trains and to provide for Point Lisas with all its requirements, contractual obligations, and needs, some of which plants have already closed down, reducing the demand in Point Lisas in the first place. So we have that initial big problem. The second problem that we have is the fact that this train 1 in Atlantic seems to be bad business in the circumstances. But so let us understand there were 2 sets of money used by the NGC. One was just under 300 million and the other one was just over 100 million. So you ended up with about 400 million total. If I understand it properly, one was the actual investment in Atlantic LNG Train 1 to get it going, and the second part was for maintenance. Now, in doing this, the NGC as a distributor of gas was not doing that in order to get gas from Atlantic. It was doing that as part of its 10% investment in Atlantic. What was the thinking, in your view, that would lead to that decision?
Well, if I am to, I think the NGC I think that the government, which guides the NGC, which clearly instructs the NGC, which is the shareholder of the NGC, was facing a situation in December 2020 where they had just come off of a series of bad news stories from Point Lisas with plants closing down. I think there was an attempt to save face. I think the government did not want to have a headline saying Atlantic Train 1 is no more. And the NGC intervened to stop the plant from closing down. You remember the then Minister of Energy came to Parliament and definitively said Train 1 was not shutting down.
That's right.
And that he went on to say that, BP is not the only supplier of gas.
They will get gas
in
elsewhere,
Trinidad.
yes.
But he did not go further to say, where would the gas come from?
Yes.
Now, from reading into some of the articles in The Guardian, for example, it seems that the thinking at the time was that they would have been able to shift some gas that was there for the petrochemical sector, for the methanol and ammonia plants, down to Atlantic LNG, because some of the plants in Point Lisas were not taking their contracted volumes because they were telling NGC, don't send us the gas because we are not making money at this point in time because methanol prices are so low.
Yeah.
But that would have been like a temporary aberration for a temporary period, and I don't see how it could justify a more longer-term running of Train 1. So I think at the end of the day, I think that there was an attempt by the NGC to save face for the government.
I don't know if it's
and for the
NGC.
country.
Now that you are saying that, I don't know if it's NGC now. It seems to me like a political miscalculation, That is to
Well,
say, it's a
it seems
political
that this was
decision.
a political instruction.
That's right. But that would have to be a political miscalculation that led to an instruction that put the NGC in a difficult place. So I want to come back to that. We have to break now, and I'll come back in a minute and we'll continue that discussion. So reflect on that for me, please.
Okay.
Welcome to Lifetime Solutions, where you can trust your roof to us. Our services include custom fabrication, steel framing, roofing installation, on-site roll forming, roofing maintenance and services. Call 223-ROOF or 223-7663 for a quote today, or visit our website www.lifetimesolutionstt.com. Lifetime Solutions. You can trust your roof to us. Call 223-ROOF or 223-7663 for a quote today, or visit our website www.lifetimesolutionstt.com.
Your house is more than just a home. It's the new normal. It's your place of work, your kids' school, and even your gym. It's where you and your family spend most of your time. With over 43 years in the building service industry, let Magic Mist Services Limited take care of your home cleaning and maintenance needs. From ceiling to floor, interior and exterior, allowing you to focus on what matters most to you. Give us a call. Magic Mist Services Limited, your total facilities management solutions provider.
It's not just a sale, it's a craving for savings celebration happening now at all 8 locations of Pasada Food King Supermarket, ensuring that you budget like a boss and eat like a king. In these tough times, we're committed to caring and treating for you like family by ensuring that you get the best quality product at the most affordable discounted prices. And at Pasada Food King, your safety continues to be our #1 priority. So remember, when visiting our locations, wear your mask at all times. Properly sanitize. Always wash your hands, as well as practice proper social distancing and follow all safety guidelines as advised by the authorities. You have simply got to check out these great deals and savings available now at all Pasada Food King locations: Manzanilla Road, Mayaro, Tabaquite Road, Rio Claro, New Grant, 2 stores in Princestown, 2 stores in Point Fortin, and Premier Street, Marabella, at the back of the Marabella Market.
Good morning. Welcome back to Brighter Morning with Bo. My name is Bo Tiwari, and you are watching on MCTV, Multicultural TV, and U97.5 FM, Hot Like Pepper Radio. You are listening there. This is Kevin Ramnarine this morning, former energy minister and energy consultant, talking with me about NGC. So we have a situation, Kevin, where you had a political miscalculation leading to an instruction by some minister, most likely Corporation Sole. We don't know. We are speculating about that, but most likely an instruction went out, and NGC took instructions and proceeded to make this investment. Could we clarify for the population, because some people know but not everybody would know, NGC owns 10% of Atlantic.
Of Train 1.
Of Train 1, sorry.
Of Train 1, yes.
Of Train 1. And secondly, China Investment Corp owns about 10% of that.
Correct. Of Train 1.
And then the main owners are really Shell and BP. They own 80%. Is that correct?
Collectively, yes.
Yes. So that is the ownership. And the first question that arises is, why does a 10% shareholder want to invest all of this money when the 80% shareholders do not think it makes sense? And they are the suppliers of gas. And what what transpired in the NGC to allow them to make that decision? Because it could not be, in my view, if you got a political instruction like that, a situation where a board would simply go along with the political instruction. There would have to be some kind of discussion or contention or issues that were raised before a formal decision was taken by the board. Are you in a position to comment on that or no? I don't want to
Well, I think
compromise you in any way.
sorry, no, I think it's, I mean, we've heard about the request for the indemnification. And if I was to, I think I recall the Prime Minister saying that no indemnification was given, but he did say that there was a request, or he alluded to the fact that a request for indemnification was given. So there was this issue of the indemnification. And if it is that the directors were confident that the decision that they were entering into was a decision which stood on sound analysis, a decision for which they received, robust, analysis from experts and so on, then there would be no need for them to want to have indemnification of that decision. So that alone says that there was something which was bothering some of the directors or all of the directors that caused them to want to have their decision indemnified. So I don't think the board of the NGC was at peace with that decision when it was taken. I think it was December or January, December 2020, around there. So that in itself says something. The fact that one of the arguments we hear is that NGC has a responsibility beyond just being a shareholder, a strategic interest in the value chain and to diversify and so on. That doesn't preclude the fact that at the end of the day, the money has been lost and the train will not restart. And in fact, another argument you hear is that NGC is keeping the train in what is called operations ready mode until gas is available. So is it that NGC is prepared to spend money on train 1 indefinitely until gas is going to be available and nobody knows when? And the other question is a question of the mechanical integrity of the train now. The train is 21 years old. It started its operational life in 1999. It's now 20 plus years old. Secondly, it's been down for 10 months. It probably is going to be down for maybe 2 or 3 years. So the cost to restart the train is going to be pretty expensive. There are issues about corrosion. There are issues about the turbines and so on. There are issues about the rotating equipment. So another question now is, what's the cost of restarting that train? And of course, the other issue is, and I think it's an issue which we discussed here before, Dr. Tiwari. BP and Shell are rapidly becoming different companies from the companies that we knew.
Yes.
Right? And they are becoming low carbon companies, focusing on renewable energy all over the world. And that may have played a role in influencing how they think in Trinidad and Tobago. So I think all those things have to be considered. But at the end of the day, if I was the government of Trinidad and Tobago at this point in time, and first of all, if we were in government, I don't think we would have allowed gas production to fall this low. But at this point in time, if I was in the government's shoes, I would simply tell the population with great honesty and sincerity that we can no longer sustain 4 LNG trains in Point Fortin. We can sustain 3. And this is the reality of life going forward, that we are going to have a smaller energy sector because we simply don't have the gas to support the size of the sector that we've had in the past. So I think that is where we are. And a part of that has to do with, the fact that we really haven't had the levels of exploration. Any exploration that we've had in the last 2 years is as a result of bid rounds that were held between 2011 and 2014. The touchstone success in Ottawa, the BHP exploration of in our deep waters, and that's also now something which has been thrown a curveball, this deep water, because of Woodside's acquisition of BHP's petroleum arm. And that in itself, Dr. Tiwari, is linked to climate change. Because BHP is really a mining company. And petroleum is a minor part of their global business empire. And BHP wanted to get out of petroleum because of these CO2 emissions and so on associated with it. And so now we have new owners coming in for BHP's deepwater assets in Trinidad. And we don't know what their agenda is. We don't know what their appetite for exploration is. So the deepwater has been thrown, a sort of curveball, and we really don't know what Woodside's plans are. So we were hoping in Trinidad for two things to happen in the future, two big things. One is deepwater gas, and the other one is Venezuelan gas. And both of them have now diminished likelihoods of happening. The company which is driving which was pushing the Dragon project and which was pushing the Loran side of Loran Manatee's Shell. Shell is now down to 10 employees in Venezuela. Shell is withdrawing or has lost interest in Venezuela. So both the Venezuelan gas and the deepwater gas are less likely to happen. We'd love to see them happen, and any responsible government would drive towards making them happen, but it's becoming more and more difficult. And the climate change issue is really something which is beginning to affect us from the point of view of how BP and Shell see the world and how their business models are changing.
Let us take two or three of those things and ask a question. This is going to be your last response, so you have to be very succinct because we have to break for the news and end the conversation, although I would like to continue. The first thing is that what are the oil and gas prospects for Trinidad and Tobago over the next 10 years, let's say? Because I know that the government, I had the Minister of Energy here, Mr. Young, some time ago, and he talked about uptake in 2022, 23, and that the horizon looks pretty good, etc., although we are going through a difficult time now. So what does it look like for the next 10 years? The second thing is, what does BP and Shell presence in Trinidad and Tobago and their investment trajectory look like, given that they are transforming their business to low carbon business? And thirdly, we have a situation in which we have contention between uncompetitive price when the price is low of things like methanol and so on in Point Lisas, and LNG, which seems to be a more lucrative fuel on the global market. Given the first two answers that you are going to give, what are the prospects for any kind of answer on that third question? Let's get a voice now. We're not hearing you, Kevin.
You hear me now?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. I seem to have accidentally muted. But for the next 10 years, I would say 2022 is going to be an improvement over 2021, and 2023 is going to be an improvement over 2022. So the minister is correct that in the medium term, there's going to be some improvement. It is not, however, going to be improvement which takes us back to where we were in 2015. But beyond 2023, I am not seeing what is going to be added to our natural gas production in a definitive and certain manner that will continue that upward trend that we would see in 22 and 23. So without deep water gas and without Venezuelan gas, we could be in a sort of terminal decline after 2023.
Couldn't the Venezuelan situation improve politically and we might be able to work something out with Dragon?
If it improves, if the politics of Venezuela improves and the sanctions change and Shell, renews its interest in Venezuela, and that could change suddenly, then yes, technically and commercially it could happen. But the big deterrent here, of course, would be the sanctions and the internal politics of Venezuela. The other thing I mentioned
just
is
30 seconds, Kevin, to finish.
and then finally, let me just deal with the whole issue of price. While some plants in Point Lisas have resumed operations because methanol and ammonia prices on the world market have rebounded significantly, the price they pay for gas is still uncompetitive compared to what they're paying for gas in other countries. So that issue of competitiveness in Point Lisas remains a serious issue.
All right. I want to thank you for this conversation this morning, Kevin, and the clarity you've given it. And we'll see you another time. Thank you very much for watching and listening. This is Brighter Morning with Bo, and I'm Bo Tiwari. We sign off now to Chanel Al-Suran and the news.